Hey everybody, movie review next story here, and I'm back on another review. This time I'm continuing kind of finishing the Sin City series because I want to still do something kind of similar. Um, with Sin City: A Dame to Kill For. This is an action crime film from 2014, directed by Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez, and it stars Jessica Alba, Bruce Willis, Mickey Rourke, Josh Brolin, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Eva Green, Rosario Dawson, and Powers Booth. In this film, some of Sin City's most hard-boiled citizens cross paths with a few of its more reviled inhabitants. So, what did I think of Sin City: A Dame to Kill For? I I really liked the first one. I did. There's only really one story in this that I liked, and it's one that I thought should have been longer. So, yeah, this one's okay. Mostly getting off kind of easy for me because of the visuals, even though I will bring up something about the visuals in a sec, but overall it is a massive downgrade from the first. But let me get to the cast. Jessica Alba plays Nancy. She's again the girl that John Hardigan saved in the first film, who became a stripper. She's now hell bent on getting revenge for him, um, because he killed himself. Uh, Jessica Alba still does a great job. I can't stress that enough. The acting is still really good in this one. Bruce Willis plays Hardigan, even though it's him as a ghost and he has only like five-ish lines. He doesn't really do much. He's it's mostly just, oh, the ghost of him is like kind of haunting the people that put him in the situation he's in. But yeah, I it was still cool to see Bruce Willis a little bit, even though this was is pretty sad given this was around the time his aphasia started to actually rear its ugly head, and he was starting to forget a lot of things that might have been. He probably was supposed to have a bigger part, but they had to cut it down because of that. I'm not sure. Mickey Rourke plays Marv, and big hulking brute. He really doesn't have a ton to do here. He's mostly in other people's stories because his main story is kind of whack. Um, But Mickey Rourke, I think, does a better job here than he did in the first. In the first, he had a lot more readings. Here, he seems a bit more comfortable. Josh Brolin plays Dwight McCarthy, the cop from the first that was played by Clive Owen. I like Josh Brolin as an actor. I think he plays this character pretty well. He's he fits in the hard-boiled cop, but also kind of anti-hero status of the character. Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays Johnny. He's a guy with a lot of luck, and his main goal is to embarrass Powers Booth's character. Um, but yeah, I like Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Eva Green plays Ava. She is the dame to kill for. She's fine, but again, I'll get to that. And Powers Booth, Rosario Dawson plays Gail. Nice to see her as the character from the first. Um, Still fun character. And Powers Booth as Senator Rourke, who's kind of our main antagonist of the film, even with Ava Green. But I still love Powers Booth as villains. I think every time I've seen him come up as a villain, I found him pretty enjoyable to watch. Sudden Death with Jean-Claude Van Damme, great example. Um, Here's the thing with this film. I'm not gonna give spoilers, but yeah, I'm not gonna do spoilers, but I will explain why this film is so much weaker for me. Because I kind of just have to go through the stories and what the main plot of the stories are, and then I'll mention like why they don't hit as hard as the first. So you got Just Another Saturday Night, which is our first one, with Marv, who uh basically so here's the thing about this film. Sorry, I kind of lost myself there. It takes place both before and after the first film. Most of the stories take place before, and the one at the very end takes place after the events of the, well, no. So Just Another Saturday Night and A Dame to Kill For take are kind of prequel stories, and The Long Bad Night Part 1 and 2 and Lancey's Last Dance take place after the events of the first film. So very interesting, very weird. I don't know why they did that, but Just Another Saturday Night, it's basically Marv retracing his steps on how he got to where he is in the beginning, where there's a crashed police car and dead bodies. And then he realizes that there were a bunch of frat boys fucking around with a homeless person, and then he basically just wants to kill him. And yeah, he kills him. That's about it. Uh, The Long Bad Night is a two-parter that starts before and after A Dame to Kill For. Uh, there's a gambler who wants to play against Senator Rourke, and it's mostly him trying to beat him, even if it ends up in his death, to like show him up. I don't. Oh yeah, the Marv story, like it's meh. It's very fillery. It feels like they were forced to write something for that, and that is one of the original stories. Um, but yeah, it just feels like they needed to put it. It's kind of boring. Uh, Long Bad Night Part 1 and 2, they're I get the point of them is the kind of karmic vengeance and everything, but overall it's a pretty sorry, the neck on the shirt's a bit tight. Overall it's a pretty, again, meh story. A Dame to Kill For is kind of a origin story for Dwight McCarthy, and more of his like trust issues with a lot of women. Again, not that he's like the beating him up kind, but this one went on for so fucking long. Like, uh, excuse me. I didn't time how long this one was compared to the others, but like, holy shit, did it feel like it went on like forever. And Ava Green is well, it starts out by him like saving a sex worker that he's like luring a guy into. He like got paid by a guy's wife, Ray Liotta's character's wife, to see if he was cheating and who he was cheating with. And uh she almost gets killed because he's a hitman and he has a gun. And then the rest of the story has nothing to do with that. It's that he's after this woman from his past, the Dame to Kill For, comes back and is acting like she's being held hostage to fuck him over and pin him as the killer of her husband. It's nothing much. I get what they're doing. They're going for the femme fatale thing. I think the first film did that a lot better with his story in that. Um, the acting overall was better, and the dialogue in this just sucks. Because he keeps talking about, like, don't let the inner beast out. Don't let out the inner beast. You have to keep it inside. And it just feels like somebody trying to replicate the dialogue from the first film, but it just doesn't work. Um, and again, I like Josh Brolin, but he's not saving the dialogue. He is trying. I think his acting isn't bad. It's just that he can't save this dialogue. Um, and the final story, well, after the last Long Bad Night Part 2, um, Nancy's Last Dance, which is the only one that I actually liked because it was a continuation of the first that actually felt substantial in that it's Nancy trying to get revenge for the death of John Hardigan. And even though it is a bit too short, 100%, they kept focusing on A Dame to Kill For, which is again, I think the worst story in the entire thing. At least Marv's story, while short, still has some fun to it. Seeing Marv beat the shit out of some people. Um, it was still nice to see Jessica Alba get to do some more physical stuff in this compared to the first because she was kind of just the stripper character in the first. So it was cool to see her turn into a kind of a badass by the end. And the revenge part was nice. But again, it's a story that I kind of wish the film was revolving around that story because that was one of the better stories of the first film. And I mean, or have it take place um, after now I'm forgetting his name again. After Dwight's win at the end of the first film. But yeah, overall the stories are most of them are very boring or very unsubstantial. Um, there's no connection to the the one girl from the first, Alexis Bledels character that was about to be killed in the elevator. Apparently, a lot of people were wanting her to come back and stuff. Um, but yeah, it's I don't know. Just a lot of this movie feels like, okay, we had a lot of money because the first movie made a lot of money, and then we just had to spend it. This film had a $65 million budget compared to the first one's 40 million. A lot of the visuals at times are not nearly as striking. You don't and you don't have as creative of kills at times because you had the kind of like comic feel to it, like the crazy shit that would happen, like Benicio del Toro's character shooting the gun because there's the thing uh in the barrel and it backfires and sticks into his head and he's still alive. That was cool and creepy, and the part where he's like still awake and still talking was fucked up, and I enjoyed that. And you really don't have a lot of that here. You don't have a lot of the kind of over the top humor and relief in places. It takes itself insanely serious, especially A Dame to Kill For, which I think A Dame to Kill For could have done with some slight comedy or slight relief at times. But yeah, I guess they just didn't want to do that. Um, who did the score? Robert Rodriguez and Carl Thiel. The score at times, it feels like a lot of stuff is reused. Maybe it's just me. A lot of themes and stuff seem to be reused. Um, and it's a bit disappointing because I was hoping with the higher budget they'd just do more. Um, excuse me. Um, again, it's a shame that John Hardigan his ghost didn't do more. I know he can't physically affect anything, but yeah. Uh, it was again most likely the aphasia. Like, there are good things to this. Again, the last story I like. The rest of them, other than Joseph Gordon-Levitt's, I like elements of it. I like what it was going for, but I just don't think it hit the way it was supposed to. I don't think the decision of splitting it made sense here because in the first film you have like the splitting of Bruce Willis's at the beginning and end, which I think worked because there was that build up like, okay, what happened to his character? Because the ending first you thinking he was about to die. And then for this one it's like we're gonna split one right before and after A Dame to Kill, which is the longest one and most boring. And yeah, it just didn't work for me. Uh and just overall felt kind of like, yeah. There's not much I can say about this. It's I will probably never watch this ever again because again, it's a 6. It's one of the ones I'd consider the most boring. It's boring. Um and yeah. Compared to the first one, I don't find this nearly as memorable. I don't think I will remember any of the stories from this. I will remember the Clive Owen and Bruce Willis stories from the first, but yeah, nothing really from this. But yeah, um, again, the music isn't bad, even though a lot of it is reused. And again, I like the last story, but yeah, overall, it's kind of a blah sequel. But yeah, that was my review of Sin City: A Dame to Kill For. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, put them down there as well. And movie reviewer next door.